Hello and welcome back to SCI Teach. This is a specimen analysis for Biology 2024 West African Senior School Certificate Practical Examination. We're going to compare some of the specimens, all of the specimens, with the ones that can be compared. So we're going to be discussing the specimens in groups. All right. Okay. So firstly, we're going to compare specimen A, gill of fish, with specimen C, lung of fowl. Okay. Now we're going to start by naming the organisms where specimen A, that's gill, and lung are obtained. Gill can be found in tilapia, catfish, or any bony fish, while lung can be found in goats, cow, fowl, guinea pig, or any mammal. Now, you shouldn't just say mammal or bony fish. You should name the bony fish or name the mammal. So I gave you the example catfish, tilapia, or any named bony fish. And then for lung, goats, cow, fowl, guinea pig, or any named mammal. Now the reason why I'm discussing gill of fish with lung of fowl is that although they belong to two different species, they both serve the same purpose. They're both used for gaseous exchange. That's they're both used for respiration. Okay. So what are the observable features that adapt this gill of fish to its function? Number one, it is moist. That's for diffusion of dissolved gases or gaseous exchange. So it's moist. Number two, it is thin-walled. That's thin membrane to make diffusion easy. And number three, it is richly supplied with blood vessels or blood capillaries. Or say it's highly vascularized. That's because it's a diffusion medium for gaseous exchange. That helps. Then number four, it has a large surface area. That's to increase the rate of diffusion of gases. All right. So those are the features that adapt this gill of fish to its functions, that function of gaseous exchange. Now, what are the similarities between gill of fish and lung of fowl? So what are the similarities between gills and lungs? Number one, both have a network of capillaries. That is, they are highly vascularized. Number two, both are pink, or is a red in color, of course. Three, they have moist surfaces. Number four, they are thin-walled, or they have thin membrane. Okay, they have large surface area. Now, about the structural differences between gill and lung. Structural differences are that in gill, there are racas. So gill racas are present in gill, but are not present in lung. Gill arc or bar is present in gill, but are not present in lung. We have lamella present in gill, but not in lung. We also have gill filaments that are present in gills and not present in lung. And we have pleural membrane, not in gill, but present in lung. We also have pleural cavity, not in gill, but it's in lungs. And then we have that gill is not fluffy, but lung is fluffy or soft. So those are the observable structural differences between gill and lung. Then maybe asked to draw a diagram of gill or lung, but maybe gill. And while you are drawing, you should know that you have to draw to size. If they say 6 to 8 cm, if they say 10 to 12 cm, draw to size. Let it be within the range. And then your line should be clear. You're drawing gills. Let's see the lines show, not something that looks like it's joined together. And then neatness of labels. Let your labels be neatly shown. And then the details that your examiner would want to see, that you at least 3 rakas should show. At least 3 rakas should show, and then at least 3 filaments should also show. And the gill bar or arc should be drawn in double lines. Okay, you can see it there. And you must label gill raka, gill bar or arc, gill filament, and gill lamella. Must be able to label all those to score complete mark. Now we saw the features that adapt gills to its functions. Let's also see the features that adapt lungs to its functions. Number 1, it is moist. It has wet surface. That's for dissolving gases, as oxygen and carbon dioxide. Number 2, the thin surface membranes are for easy diffusion or exchange of gases. Number 3, they have many blood vessels. That's, we said, they are highly vascularized. And that's for transportation of gases as dissolved food substances. Okay? Take note that the structure you are mentioning must and the function must correspond. If the structure you're mentioning does not correspond to the function, you won't score a mark. So the structure and the function must correspond to score. Now, specimen B is liver from fowl. You might also be asked to differentiate between liver and lung. Okay, so if you are asked that, we could say number 1, that liver is more solid or thick or more turgid than lung. Lung is soft or softer or fluffy. And then liver is darker. It has a dark red color, while lung is brighter, though it's still red, brighter red or pink color. And then liver is smoother on the surface, while lung is folded or convoluted surface. So with that, you can also extract the features of liver. All right. You can also check some liver diseases, liver disorders in birds to have a full knowledge of questions that will come out of liver of fowl. Okay, specimen D is gizzard from fowl. Right, what are the functions of gizzard in farm animals? Gizzard helps in grinding the feed. It moistens the feed, and then it mixes or churns the feed, and then stores the feed. Okay, so 4 functions I've mentioned. Helps in grinding the feed, it moistens the feed, it mixes or churns the feed, and then it stores the feed. All right. And what are the features of gizzard which enables it to perform those functions I just mentioned? The features are, number 1, it has a thick muscular wall. This thick muscular wall is what helps it in grinding the feed. Then the presence of stones or grits, pebbles or gastroliths. Also, it is tough, as it has a tough or rough lining, okay, as coiling layer. In fact, in general, how does chicken chew its feed without any teeth? Okay, so the process of digestion in chicken or fowl is wonderful. Okay, let's take a look and see. Now, food is taken in with the beak, of course. Then you know that fowls or chicken are omnivores. so they can eat the commercial feed they are given to, but they can also eat meat like grubs, worms, and even occasionally mouse. They can eat grass, they can eat weeds or other plants. Okay. So they depend mostly on enzymes. They don't have what to chew their food, so they depend on enzymes that are added to the food in the mouth, so for digestion. All right. So from the esophagus, food moves to the crop. Crop is an expandable storage compartment that is located at the base of the chicken's neck. All right. So here the food can remain for up to 12 hours. The food will trickle from the crop into the stomach of this bird. All right. That stomach is what we call gizzard. Now this is where digestive enzymes are added to the food and then mixed, and the physical grinding of the food will begin. Now the gizzard is why chickens do not need teeth. Okay, so the gizzard is the muscular part of the stomach that uses these grits. The grits are the like small hard particles of sand or pebbles that the chicken took in while picking food from the ground. All right, so the gizzard uses the help of these grits to grind grains and fibers into smaller or more digestible particles. And from the gizzard, food passes into the small intestine. These are where the nutrients are absorbed. Right? I'm saying this because specimen E is intestine from fowl. Okay, so we're discussing specimen E with this now. I said from the gizzard, food passes to the small intestine, where nutrients are absorbed. The residue then will pass through the sessa, which is a blind sac along the lower intestinal tract. This is where bacteria will then help break down the undigested food. Then from there, food will move to the large intestine, which will then absorb the water and dries out food that had not digested. All right, so this remaining residue will then pass through the cloaca. That's where the chicken's urine, this urine is white in chicken droppings. This urine will mix with the waste. Okay, and then both of them will exit the chicken at the vents, at the external opening of the cloaca. Before I forget, should be able to also locate where specimen B, that's liver, is in the body of the fowl. It's below the diaphragm, or in the upper part of the abdominal cavity of the abdomen. Then for lung, the location of the lung of the fowl is in the thoracic cavity, or thorax, or thoracic region. Okay. Now, specimen F is ginger rhizome. Ginger rhizome. The features of rhizome of ginger is that it has a brown or gray or yellow in color. Brown, gray, or yellow color. It's cylindrical in shape. See, if it's not circle, but it's round. I mean, this time the rhizome. The leaves are reduced to scales. Okay, the leaves are like scales, like not open leaves. And there's a presence of nodes or maybe internodes, and then it has adventitious roots, and then it has terminal buds. All right, so those are the features of ginger rhizome. You should be able to draw also. Okay, the stored material in ginger rhizome is water and starch. Okay, and the method of propagation of ginger rhizome is the rhizome itself. So they cut the rhizome into small lengths and plant, and then it grows because of the presence of terminal buds. Now the next specimen is onion bulb, but it can be compared to ginger rhizome. So let's try and compare specimen F, ginger rhizome, with specimen G, onion bulb. Okay, like mode of propagation. Onion bulb is propagated, or the mode of propagation of onion bulb is the bulb, while in ginger rhizome is the rhizome, and the material stored in onion bulb is water and sucrose, while that stored in ginger rhizome is water and starch. Okay, now let's see this onion diagram and name these labeled parts. Alright, so it can help you know how to draw the diagram here. If you draw the onion like this, it's okay, and then you label these parts. Alright, that part labeled I is the foliage leaf, and the II is the scale leaf or the membranous leaf. III is the fleshy or the storage or the succulent leaves, while IV is the auxiliary or the lateral bud, and V is the stem. Then VI is the adventitious root, or you call it the fibrous roots. Okay, so onion bulb or bulb of onion plants belongs to the class Monocotyledonae or Monocotyledonae. Alright, so why? They have elongated or long leaf or leaves, and they have the presence of adventitious roots or fibrous roots. Alright, then the part of the plant in which food is stored is the fleshy or succulent or storage leaf. Alright, that's the III. And then what's the functions of some of these parts? Let's look at the functions of the part labeled II, which is the scale leaf, is for protection of the organs. And then the parts labeled III, that's the fleshy or the storage or succulent leaf, the function is for storage of food. And then for the parts labeled VI, that's the adventitious roots, the function is the absorption of water or mineral salts, anchorage. Specimen H is leaf of Bryophyllum. Leaf of Bryophyllum is a well-known medicinal plant that has been used in many traditional systems of medicines. Sometimes they use it for treating fever, smallpox, cough, asthma, headache, convulsion, and so on. The binomial name is Bryophyllum pinnatum, and the common names are much. Some people call it miracle leaf, but it's from the family Crassulaceae. It has large, broad, flattened leaves that are usually bright green or light green in color, and have numerous blunt teeth along their margins. That's to say they are crenate. Now, reproduction in plants with the help of vegetative parts like leaf, roots, stem, and all that are called vegetative reproduction. In Bryophyllum, the young plant develops from the adventitious bud, and the plantlets are present along the leaf margins. So the new plants can detach from the leaves and develop into a full plant after they fall on the ground. The advantages of vegetative propagation is that number one, the new plants will all have the characteristics of their parent plants. Number two, the plants produced by vegetative propagation grow rapidly, so the cost of process of production of flowers and seeds and fruits, all these are avoided. 3. Desired varieties will continue to pass down its advantageous genetic information to the offspring. Hence, it is economically valuable. Now remember, we said the leaves and stems of the plant are green and fleshy and are covered with a shiny layer of wax. And the entire plant is a huge water reservoir. The waxy layer of the leaves and plants prevents loss of water by evaporation. So that means Bryophyllum will tolerate drought, can grow in a place where there is no much water supplied to the soil. Okay, so in fact, its entire metabolism is adapted to drought. Okay, so how is Bryophyllum leaf adapted to its functions? You see, the leaves of Bryophyllum produces adventitious buds that develop from the leaf margin. As the leaves fall on the moist soil, it produces a new plant directly from the leaves by forming the roots inside the soil. Okay, so what are the adaptations of the leaf to its functions? They are adapted for photosynthesis by having a large surface area. Okay, and they contain openings which are called stomata. Now, they also control gas exchange by opening and closing, right? Those leaves open and close to control gaseous exchange. And then it has a stomata, which allow carbon dioxide into the leaf and oxygen out. The next specimen is specimen J, cassava stem, and specimen K is cassava tuber. So we're going to consider those two specimens together. Cassava is a dicot perennial shrub. It belongs to the family of Euphorbiaceae. It is also known as tapioca or manioc or mandioca or yucca in different parts of the world. Okay, so the tubers is a storage cell, the storage part of the plant, and its tuberous storage roots are rich in starch, 20 to 40% starchy, and are harvested either for direct human consumption, animal feed, or industrial uses. And let's look at the stem. The growth habit of cassava has important implications in cassava breeding because it can affect the root yield. So there are two types of growth here. The erect growth type, just with or without branching at the top, just goes erect and flowers. And number two, spreading type, which is not cultivated actually. Branching occurs as a result of flower induction. So therefore the branchings are often called reproductive branchings because came out of flower induction. The branches can undergo further branching when flowering occurs, which results in a high order branching. Okay, so sometimes you see 4 or 5 branches of cassava. So how about the roots, which are the tubers? Cassava roots are true roots, so they cannot be used for propagation. It is the most economically important organ of a cassava plant because of the starch containing cells in the tissue. Alright, so the edible part is the root. Alright, so I've said the main uses of cassava tuber. They are directly consumed by humans as food, or they can be used as animal feed or for industrial use, right? Now, how about the method of propagation? Cassava can be propagated by either seed or stem cutting, that's stakes. Because cassava plants are highly heterozygous, seed propagation will result in highly heterogeneous offspring that will no longer possess the desirable traits of the seed parents. So because of that, cassava propagation is done mostly through stem cuttings. Okay. Now there are some diseases that can affect cassava, like the cassava mosaic disease, CDM or CMD. And then we have cassava brown streak disease, CBD. Can cause significant yield loss. Alright. And also we can have bacterial diseases such as cassava bacterial blight and root rot, which can also cause damages. The ones I mentioned before, that's cassava mosaic disease and cassava brown streak disease, are all viral diseases caused by virus. But bacterial disease are like bacterial blight and then root rot. Okay. Now, what are the ways that this cassava is important to human nutrition? Number one is a source of food, a source of starch or carbohydrate. And it stores energy. So energy is produced when you eat them. It's also used for industrial purposes. It's also used, it can employ, and it's source of income for whoever is doing exports or selling it. Alright, so those are some of the ways that cassava tuber is important to human nutrition. Now, the toxic substance that is found in cassava tuber is a hydrogen cyanide. I just call it cyanide or perusic acid. How do we remove this hydrogen cyanide in fresh cassava tubers? Number one, grating the tubers and squeezing out the water under pressure for a few days. Number two, soaking the tubers in water for some days. That's fermentation. Number three, drying the soaked tubers in water for some days. That's fermentation. Then number four, drying the soaked tubers in the sun, and then boiling or cooking the tubers, and then frying. So the ways we can remove the hydrogen cyanide that is present in cassava tubers. Okay. Let's also chip in something for onion bulb. Okay, what are the uses of onion bulb? We missed that. It's a source of vitamin A and C. It's also used for as flavoring agents, flavoring food, and it has medicinal uses also. It's a source of volatile oil. It can be eaten as food. And onion is antioxidant. Okay, it boosts digestion also, and it nourishes the skin and helps to repel snakes around the home. Okay, what are the pests of onion bulbs? We have grasshopper, crickets, cockroach, monkey, thrips, rats or rodents, maggots, and eelworm. All right, and the group of crops to which onion belong to is spices and vegetables. All right. Now back to cassava. Cassava is, like we said, a root vegetable, and so it is the underground part of the cassava shrub, which is the root. It has a Latin name, Manihot esculenta, as cassava. All right. So it's a tuber crop, and other crops that are tuber crops can be asked. Those are potatoes, yams, and all that. Then sweet potato or whatever, you can just call it potato. Okay. I know that cassava root is similar to the shape of sweet potatoes. Now we move to specimen L, thoracic vertebrae, and we also consider it with specimen Q, lumbar vertebrae. Now, the thoracic vertebrae are bones located between the cervical and the lumbar vertebrae. There are 12 thoracic vertebrae in humans, and these bones increase in size as you are going down the body. They are thicker and larger than the cervical vertebrae, but thoracic vertebrae is smaller in size than the lumbar vertebrae. We're comparing thoracic with lumbar now, discussing both of them. Okay, so this increase in size as you're going down the body of thoracic vertebrae is to ensure they can support the weight of the body. All right. You can easily identify thoracic vertebrae because they articulate with the ribs and have facets on either sides of their bodies, all right, to allow this articulation. They are generally labeled T1 to T12 in humans, and T1 is the closest to the neck, and T12 is furthest down the body. Okay, the thoracic vertebrae functions to support the back. Right, the articulations with the ribs allow them to provide a protective cage around the delicate organs of the thorax, including the heart and the lungs. So there is limited mobility in this section of the spine because of the joint articulations, and because of that, the thoracic vertebrae allows just some twisting and bending motions, but cannot go beyond that. Now, the main parts of the thoracic vertebrae is the body, or call it centrum, 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 which is a heart-shaped. It's heart-shaped in central vertebrae. They contain ovoid surfaces known as facets on the transverse process, which allows the heads of the ribs to articulate on either side of the body. Alright. There are two long muscles associated with the thoracic vertebrae. That's the spinalis and the longissimus. These two long muscles run along the back and help with posture and movement. So, but overuse of this muscle can cause pain to the back. Okay. Now let's see the labeled parts of this thoracic vertebrae and try and label its parts. So the part labeled I is a neural arc. Part labeled II is a tuberculum. That's the tubercular facet. The part labeled III is the centrum. Okay, and then part labeled IV is a neural canal or the vertebral foramen. The part labeled V is a transverse process, and the VII labeled part is a neural spine. Okay, now what parts of the body can this vertebra be found? It's thoracic vertebra, so it can be found in the thoracic region or the chest region or the vertebral column. Okay, now what's the function of this centrum, the part labeled III? Number one, it provides support for the vertebra. Number two, it provides protection for the vertebra. Number three, it provides attachment to the next vertebra. Okay, and then what's the function of the neural canal or vertebral foramen? Number one, passage or protection for spinal cord, and then passage or protection for blood vessels. Then the function of the part labeled V, that's the transverse process, is for muscle attachment. Okay, it's for muscle attachment. Now, what are the bones to which the vertebra is attached? It can be attached to the cervical vertebrae, and then the lumbar vertebrae, and also is attached to the ribs. Okay. Now remember, we are comparing thoracic vertebrae with lumbar vertebrae. Okay. Let's look at their location. The thoracic vertebrae bears the rib cage, carries the rib cage, while lumbar vertebrae constitute the spine in the lower back. Okay. Then what are the region? The region associated with thoracic vertebrae is the mid back, and the region associated with lumbar vertebrae is the low back. The number of vertebrae in thoracic vertebrae is 12. The number of vertebrae in lumbar vertebra is 5. Okay, and how are they numbered? This 12 thoracic vertebrae are numbered from T1 to T12, and these 5 lumbar vertebrae is numbered from L1 to L5. Okay, now what are their sizes? Thoracic vertebrae is smaller than lumbar vertebrae, while the lumbar vertebra forms the largest vertebra. And how is their shape? Thoracic vertebrae is heart-shaped, and comprises costal facets, but lumbar vertebrae is kidney shaped. Okay, so and the shape of the vertebral foramen in thoracic vertebrae is circular, but for lumbar vertebrae it's triangular and flattened. So generally, thoracic vertebrae, as the primary role of thoracic spine is to bear the rib cage, safeguarding the lungs and the heart. And also, thoracic vertebrae are 12 in number, T1 to T12, and the movement of the thoracic spine is restricted. Okay, but for vertebra or lumbar vertebra, it's mainly involved in bearing the body's weight. And also, the lower back has 5 lumbar vertebrae, L1 to L5, and they form the large vertebra, taking in the strain of carrying and lifting heavier objects. Now, specimen M is a humerus bone, and specimen P is a femur bone. So we're going to compare humerus bone with femur bone, right? Now, the humerus bone is the largest in the entire upper body. Okay, upper body. The upper and lower arms are joined by the bottom of the humerus bone, which also connects the caps of the radius and the ulna. Alright, so on the scapula or the shoulder blade, the head of the humerus attaches to the region known as the glenoid fossa. Now, the intersection of these bones enables movements at the elbow and extensive range of motion accessible at the shoulder joint. Now, the femur is the longest and the strongest bone in your body. Okay, it plays an important role in how you stand, move, and keep your balance. So femurs usually only break from serious traumas like car accidents, right, which would require surgery for treatment. Okay, so the femur is your thigh bone, the bone in your thigh. It is a critical part of your ability to stand and move, like I said. So your femur also supports lots of important muscles, tendons, ligaments, and parts of your circulatory system. Alright, now because it is so strong, it usually takes a severe trauma like a fall or a car accident to break your femur. Alright, now what does the femur do? What's its function? It has several important jobs. Number 1, holding the weight of your body when you stand and move. 2, stabilizing you as you move. Number 3, connecting muscles, tendons, and ligaments in your hips and knees to the rest of your body. It connects the muscles, tendons, and ligaments in your hips and knees to the rest of your body. And where is the femur located? So the femur is the only bone in your thigh. It runs from your hip to your knee. Yeah? What does it look like? It has 2 rounded ends and a long shaft in the middle. That's what we asked to describe. It's the classic shape used for bones in cartoons. So a bone you see dogs eating cartoon. It's just the how the femur looks like, right? So it has a cylindrical 2 round bumps at each end. Even though it's just one long bone, the femur is made up of several parts, right? The upper proximal end of your femur connects to your hip joint. The proximal end as the aspect. It contains the head, contains the neck, contains the crest, and so on. Now, what are the common conditions and disorders that affect the femur? Alright, the most common issues that affect femurs are fractures, alright, also osteoporosis and patellofemoral pain syndrome. Okay, when you have fractured your femur, you would know by feeling pain, and you see swelling, some tenderness, and inability to move your leg like you usually can. Also, you have bruising, bruise will appear, or discoloration. Okay, and then and usually the femur won't need treatment unless you have a fracture, right? Or you've been diagnosed of osteoporosis. Now, what's the difference between femur and humerus? Humerus is located in the upper arm, whereas femur is found in the upper leg. Also, the length and the average diameter of the femur are higher than that of the humerus. 3. Femur is the largest bone in the body, while humerus is the second largest. 4. The articular head of femur better detached than that of humerus, but have the same shape. And the linear aspera of the femur is situated behind, whereas that of the humerus is situated in front. And then femur is stronger than humerus, so femur can withstand a large pressure than the humerus. So generally, the humerus and the femur are bones of the arms and legs respectively, and while their parts are similar in general, their structure has been adapted to differing functions. Right? Take for instance, the head of the humerus is also hemispherical, while that of the femur forms about 2/3 of a sphere. But how are humerus and femur similar? Both the humerus and femur serve as attachment points for muscles, so they act as levers to aid in movement. The shoulder girdle attaches the humerus to the trunk, whereas the peripheral girdle attaches the femur. Alright, so the similarity we just have is that both of them have similar joints at each end. And we said the femur is bigger and stronger than the humerus because it constantly carries the weight of your body. Alright, and the humerus does not carry the weight of your body. So the femur is the strongest and also the longest bone in your body. Femur is the thigh bone, remember. Now lastly, we compare the last two specimens, specimen N, which is mango seed, and specimen R, which is orange seed. Now mango seed and orange seed both undergo epigeal germination. Orange is a dicot seed, and it will take it 1 week to grow. The seed. But mango, which is a monocot seed, takes 2 to 3 weeks to germinate. Right? Now I've done justice at least to all the specimens, but knowledge doesn't end there. You have to still research more and read your textbooks, your notebooks, and check all the characteristics of all the specimens and know how to answer questions that will come out from them. Thank you.